Three, two, one.
This broadcast, telecast, podcast, and whatever the hell else it is copyrighted by the Rad Network, the Rob and Steve Sports Show, all found at theradnetwork.com, and is for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, account, or description to this madness without the express permission of the Rad Network and Williams Broadcasting and Rob's really new lawyers is prohibited. So just don't do it.
It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show.
Now Norwood tries to kick his longest ever on grass, 47 yards. 8 seconds left. No good. Wide right.
Welcome to 2 hours of sports and nothing but sports.
Here's the 0-1. This is going to be a tough play. Bryant, the Cubs win the World Series. Bryant makes the play. It's over. And the Cubs have finally won it all.
Email the show, ras@theradnetwork.com.
4th and 5, the national championship on the line right here. He's going for the corner. He's got it. Vince Young scores.
And now, the Rad Network presents the Rob and Steve Sports Show.
I swear it's like the never-ending story, or it's Groundhog Day, or it's the same thing, different day, as we keep every day reporting on what the NFL is thinking, what they're doing, as there's all of this pushback about the paywalls and where they're going to put their most prized games. There's this antitrust thing, and they just keep plowing forward, or do they? Here's the latest, like as of an hour ago. We've already reported the candidates. There's this 5-game 2026 package of standalone games. Netflix, YouTube, and Fox were all in it. The options were believed to include the Week 1 Niners-Rams game in Australia, the Thanksgiving Eve game, the second Black Friday game, and a Christmas Eve game. That's only 4. There were other games. There's like 10 games, and they get to pick 5. This isn't what we were talking about yesterday, where Netflix came in and said, we want everything. We want Christmas Eve. We want, or not Christmas Eve. We want the opening day, and we want Australia and all this other. Okay, so, but Netflix is still in the mix, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, now, as of this morning, the NFL had sent out a request for proposal that allowed the bidders to select 5 games from the broader menu. All of this while they're under all of these complications, et cetera. The report from Front Office Sports is YouTube and the NFL have entered a long-form contract review for the slate of games. We don't know what games that YouTube is choosing, if they even have yet. Now, if the games are available for free on YouTube that we talked about earlier in the week, Steve, that takes a little bit out of of the steam out of the issue of, it's on a streamer, because if it's on free YouTube, anyone can get YouTube. You can just go to youtube.com and you can watch it. You don't have to go behind the paywall, but we don't know if that's happening. But they do continue to branch out to these other areas. We got to wait for word on what this whole thing looks like, but it looks like YouTube will have 5 premier games that they get to pick as part of everything else that we already know what's going on with the NFL. And this is this season.
Yeah, the thing I'm hearing and thinking out of that comment is I don't believe YouTube's going to make them free. They've already agreed to their package and what they're going to offer for that free package. And now you're a subscriber. You get YouTube now because of the NFL, and now you're going to have to subscribe premium package for these additional. I could see lawsuits right there. Look, I bought the NFL package. Now you're saying I have to buy the NFL package premiere for these other games. I just don't see it going well for YouTube if they win this and if they do decide to charge even more.
See, and okay, and who it really doesn't go well for is us, is the consumer. Because you're right, I hadn't even made the connection yet, because this news just broke an hour ago and trying to get everything ready, that YouTube already has what used to be the DirecTV Sunday ticket. So you got to buy that, and it ain't cheap. What is it, $350 or something for the season? So will YouTube make this part of that? So then they really rope you in. Well, then that's not free, because you're buying that. Or will they say, well, these 5 games are free, and they're just going to advertise for the other. You're right. It doesn't make a lot of business sense because YouTube's already in bed with the NFL. It's not like this is their chance. And I'm talking as I think here from a business aspect. If this was the one streamer that isn't in bed with the NFL, Hulu, well, I mean they kind of
Mhm.
are because ESPN, but Apple TV's baseball. Like, if this was a streamer that wasn't in bed with the NFL, then you could make the argument of, well, yeah, we're going to make them free because it gives us exposure to the NFL audience. We can promote our other shows, blah 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 blah. With YouTube, it's hard to make that argument, and that leads me back to what I was bringing up earlier in the week. Is the NFL, this, they have a history of taking this position of, we're the NFL, you'll pay. Are they sticking with that? Are they like, so history shows they get away with it? Are they so brazen? And then we get to, will they just get the antitrust thing? That's out of everybody's control. That's going to the Supreme Court. Let's assume they can do this. They go down the road and they do this. Will they get it? Will we keep paying? Will we just keep saying, I got to have my NFL?
I think one, we will keep paying until we push back, and at that point, they'll reevaluate and say, "Okay, we've reached that door. This is it. They're not going to go farther, so now we can back it off a little bit." And I think they're just going to continue doing this more and more, as I've talked to you about in the past. I still wouldn't be surprised if they start going one-offs, as in you're going to have to buy any game you want. It's going to be $9.99 or whatever it is, and you're going to have to pay for every single game at some point. I hope it never comes to that. I like watching all the games. I think that's the reason they have the packages, but I don't see the YouTube offering this as part of the free package. To me, Hulu's the one that makes sense. And you make them buy Hulu Live TV, not just Hulu. You
Right.
make them subscribe to the live TV. So now I have to have YouTube for the whole year in a sense. I have to have Hulu Live TV for the whole year. And now you're looking at what, $100 each one a month just for those on top of everything else. It's crazy where it's going. But until the consumer pushes back and said, enough's enough, they're going to keep wanting more and more money.
This is why I love doing the show with you, is I don't have to take notes because somehow you end exactly where I wanted to pick up and I didn't, and it was like 2 minutes ago. Because that's my question. What's the pushback look like? Because if it's a matter of consumers start canceling streamers, the NFL can go, well, that's because your product sucks. All you've got is us. Your shows are stinky. I'm trying to figure out what the pushback looks like that makes the NFL go, okay, we've gone too far. Because I'm with you right now today. I believe sports fans in America are addicted to the NFL, for lack of a better term, and they will keep paying for this, and they will go down this road, and keep buying this stuff for now. And I don't know where the breaking point is and what it looks like to the NFL.
And that's what you have to, as long as the consumer keeps buying it, it's going to continue to increase. They have to stop buying the NFL package as a large amount of people. It isn't just you or me or a couple of people. And this is one of the things that I've done with baseball, and this hurts to say because I'm such a baseball fan, but my wife and I now, for the most part, only go to Major League Baseball games when we're on a vacation. We don't, hey, let's go for the day, let's go catch a game here or there. We've made it much more because that's kind of my little bit of a pushback to these leagues is I'm not going to pay the daily ticket price. When I'm on vacation, I want to see the different ballparks, but I don't go to anywhere near the amount of games I used to go to. And it's because I continue to see ticket prices go up. I continue to see, the players make all this money and all of these big money in the TV deals. Look at the amount of money the NFL makes in it. And as long as people are willing to pay, I can't blame them. They are a business. They need to make more money. But come on. I mean, every owner now is not only a billionaire in the last 5, 6 years, but a multi-billionaire. I mean, you look at the expansion teams that are coming out in the NBA and they're talking to be an expansion team. You have to be $7 to $10 billion to purchase that team. It wasn't that long ago that you were buying franchises for 800 million or something like that. And it's that I, as a fan, watch as much sports, if not more, than most everybody, but I just get tired of it.
By the way, I'm standing by what I said when we went over that. I still say the Vegas expansion team in the NBA goes for 12 billion. The issue of going to games, you know what I'm relating it to as we talk this through, is we've gone through these cycles in America on a number of levels to where we are willing to go deep into debt for things that are so important to us. I'm thinking back to, and not that it doesn't still go on, 20-ish years ago when these lavish Sweet 16 and promposals started for our kids, where literally parents were taking out second mortgages so that their high school kids could have these extraordinary Sweet 16 parties and graduation. I'm not talking about because they're on MTV. I'm talking about in the suburbs. And they couldn't afford them, but it was so important. And do whatever you want with your money. This isn't me preaching. I'm trying to make the equivalency of the NFL feels like it's almost at that level for us where we will just say we're going to go into debt or we're going to eliminate something that's less important. We're starting to run out of things that are less important than we can afford in this country right now. The NFL is picking a bad time to push the American consumer financially, but it seems like they can get away with it. And there's a lot to be unpacked here and a wait and see thing. But it does feel like the NFL might be right. Yeah, we can do this, and we're just going to do it, and we'll just see.
I think they are right. There hasn't been any pushback to this point. This isn't something new. We've been complaining about this for, quite a while. I mean, just think of baseball prices and how much it now costs to take a family of four. And that's one of the reasons I loved baseball. My family took us, a good amount of time to all the games. So I watched it as a kid. I loved the game, and now I can't afford to take my kids to the game, so they're moving on to other things.
It's funny because I've been lumping myself in that I don't really go to live sports anymore because I'm so blessed and I saw so many and I love doing it at home group. But the team of my youth is 30 minutes ish away from my house. The A's are playing in West Sacramento. They did all of last year. They're playing this year. If there was going to be a season next year, which there probably won't, they'd be playing. I haven't been to a game. They're playing in a minor league park. It's very intimate. The people that I've talked to who have gone, who are baseball fans, say it's great. You hear more, you see more. You've been to minor league games. It's a different thing. It's a different animal. It's more intimate, as we say. I haven't gone, and I've put it under the guise of, I like watching at home. I've seen them play, but remember we went through the list when the season started. The A's are the third highest on average team in the entire league. It was the Dodgers, was it the Red Sox second, and then the A's. The A's were third to take a family of four. So even if I said, yeah, I don't really need it. Oh, okay, you want to go? And then I thought, wait a minute, do I want to drop $300 on this idea? I wouldn't. Just because, no. And so when you start wrapping the family of four around it and all that, I you're right. And it's only opening night they had the biggest crowd ever. It was 12,500. They somehow packed in there, and they've started to get down into the 9,000 again. It's not like the A's aren't playing well; they are. And I think there is pushback in some places where it's going, but I don't know that they notice it. And that's baseball, not football, et cetera, et cetera. All right.
And one thing I'll add to that, my wife and I still go to many minor league baseball games. The affordability. So we just stopped going to major league games, but we still love baseball. So we will go see. I mean, we've gone to Sacramento to watch minor league baseball there. We watch it in Vegas all the time. We watch it up here in Reno. So we're still going to games. We're just not paying the major league ticket price.
Remember, the email is ras@theradnetwork.com to chime in on this or anything else. A couple other stories from today that just broke in the last hour or two. This is like the worst attempt at not saying something but really saying something. Washington Capitals star Alex Ovechkin said today that he's pretty sure that Tuesday's season finale at Columbus won't be his last game. As the NHL's all-time leading goal scorer contemplates retirement. Remember what he said initially was, well, I'm going to meet with the coach and the GM and the team and my family, and we're not going to Russia. We're going to stick around for a while. Now he said After saying that he would decide on his future in the offseason after consulting with his family. He hasn't spoken with Chris Patrick, the GM, yet. But when he was asked what he would like to hear from Chris Patrick, the GM of the Capitals, Ovechkin said, quote, "We want you for 2 more years. Here's your contract. Sign it." Well, that doesn't sound like a guy who's ready to retire. And the Capitals aren't going to say anything else. Somebody on on one of the sports shows I had on the other day made the point. It's like the Capitals aren't going to not let Ovechkin play for them if he wants to play. This is like telling Jesus you're not welcome at dinner. He's Alex Ovechkin, for God's sakes. He went on to say, quote, "I'm pretty sure it's not my last game. I hope it's not my last game. I have to make a decision to see where we're at, the team, the family. The kids are already asking me, Dad, what are you playing? Are you staying or not?" And I tell them, we'll see. They want me to come back. They love the city. They love the team. They love the boys. He's playing. He's staying, right? There's no chance he's retiring based on these comments, in my opinion.
I agree with you. And you had said yesterday that he's looking for a 2-year contract, not a 1-year contract. And then he has the right to opt out after the 1 year. I'm going to take it a step farther. Let the Flyers throw him a 5-year contract, and we are going to lock you in, because if and when you're not playing, like the Angels did with Albert Pujols, you will have a special advisory role with us or whatever it is, because you want to keep him with the franchise. This is a player you never want to allow to walk away from the franchise. Keep him involved for public appearances and everything else. So roll it out as a much bigger contract. Look, you can play as long as you want. Here's your contract. This is what you're looking at. If you want to play for 5 years, great. You know, if you want to play for 1 year and then you're 4 years with us and we'll go from there, fantastic. It's your terms. It's your team. We're here for you. We support you. And I would think that contract would get signed really quick.
And the other thing about what I like about that is the reason I said 2 years yesterday was this impression that I'm getting in particular, is that he doesn't want that farewell year. So if he signs a 2-year deal and he knows in his head, this is my last year, he doesn't say it. He's got a 2-year deal. And then after the last game next season, he goes, that's it, I'm out. Your plan, it's already there. It's like, yeah, I decided only 1 year, and now I go to the front office. He didn't have to deal with all the hugs and the ovations and the free cars and all this other crap. And he gets to just play the game and then slide right on in. He says the boys love the city. I mean, he obviously has a big connection to his family. Just keep them in the city for as long. I don't know how old the boys are, but get them through high school. That is a plan that makes a lot of sense for a guy named Ovechkin in hockey. You would think the Capitals are already thinking this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, and it satisfies him, gives him some income after it, gives him something that when he's not playing, look, you have a role. You're not going to unemployment, not that he needs to collect unemployment, but it's that, well, once I retire, what am I really going to do? You have a role. You're a special assistant, a special advisor to the team, public appearances and all that stuff. So it keeps you busy enough, but also allows you to enjoy your time with your family, stepping away from the game. And I always view it as a transition. Before you go full blown, okay, you're entirely out of the sport, allow him to transition from a player to an advisor to whatever he wants to do down the road.
Now, we're a week to the day away from the NFL draft. And I make a point constantly on the show that we try to avoid the pitfalls of so much sports media where you speculate endlessly on things that you have no idea what's happening, what's going on, who's going to go where, and we just grinding. Yesterday it came up because or Wednesday, I forget what day that was. Yesterday, yesterday when the Cardinals were meeting with Ty Simpson, and oh my God, these arguments for the last 3 months over, is Simpson a first round, a second round? Oh wait, will he be a better quarterback than Mendoza? I'm sorry, I'm watching this in February. What? Now here's another one, and I understand the pitfalls of what we do. The things that are happening that you have to talk about, it gins people up, and there might be a reason to, like this, you got to play 65 games in the NBA in order to be eligible for postseason awards thing. Well, this is something the NBA Players Association agreed to. They signed it. The NBA didn't force it on them. They was part of the collective bargaining. For some reason this year it became a big deal. Like, oh, big bad NBA, you're so mean to make us play all these games. So it was worth discussing. You had your guy Cade Cunningham from the Pistons last time we talked. He was your second vote for MVP, but Long didn't play enough games. Well, news came down about an hour ago. Luka and Cade Cunningham are eligible for all 2025-26 season awards, including MVP and all NBA teams. A lot of money in there with bonuses. After they challenged the 65 game rule, and it was approved by the NBA and the Players Association this morning. Luka finished with 64 games during the regular season. And what they did was they went with the extraordinary circumstances argument. Luka's extraordinary argument wasn't, I got to go to Spain. His argument was, I missed 2 games in December because of the birth of my child abroad. Smart. You got a good attorney. Cunningham played 63 games, missed 12 games because of a collapsed lung. That's an extraordinary circumstance for sure. NBA says each player qualified for the awards. The league and the union agreed in a joint statement. There's other names here to talk about. But what do you think of the challenge, Steve? All this screaming, all this yelling, and all of these conversations that said, you know what they got to do? They got to tweak this rule. They got to change it to where there's exceptions if there's an extraordinary circumstance. Well, that's exactly what they appealed, and they got it. So I understand why we talked about it, but now it's like, what was all that screaming and yelling about? Because they're eligible.
Right, they're eligible. I'm curious to see what player bonuses and incentives were in those contracts. Like Cade Cunningham, if you finish in the top 5 in the MVP voting, you get $1 million and things like that. I'm still going at that load management. And I don't have a problem with Luka because of his injury with the hamstring, the birth of his child, those kind of things. But then I don't want to hear that at any time during the regular season that they rested for load management. Oh, look, we got back-to-back, so we're going to give them a day off. I think you still have to count those against it. None of us see a way of fixing the tanking, but over the last few days, been thinking about it. What if they eliminated back-to-backs and kind of just went, look, we're going to play every other day. There's no more. And then you take that excuse from players of, oh, it's the wear and tear of that back-to-back game. And you just, look, that's what we're going to do. You're going to play, and we're going to eliminate all back-to-backs, but it means you might be playing 3 times a week because you're going to have to play virtually every other day and see if that changes. If it doesn't change, and honestly, I don't think it's going to change because I think the players I only have to suit up for 80% of my games and I still get that full paycheck and I can call in sick from work. Like all of us, wouldn't we, if the opportunity was there, call in like every Friday? It'd be like, yeah, I'm going to call in. I still get paid for today. I want the 3-day weekend. We would all do it too, but we can't. So maybe the NBA's got to look at no more back-to-backs and see if that changes this load management in any way.
And logistically, no more back-to-backs is totally doable. It doesn't expand the season. That's a weak-ass argument. You could do it. And then I heard when you said, oh, you might have to play 3 times a week. I heard Charles Barkley and I heard Michael Jordan saying, oh, you poor babies. Because, the old school guy, well, old school to this generation, not old school like Bill Russell, those guys, they're like, what has happened to this league? Play. They're so anti-load management, etc. But that would be, and I agree with you, that would be the most reasonable way to address it, and it wouldn't change. It wouldn't change. They would still sit for as much as they were allowed to sit, especially if they kept the appeal process in place to where if something did really happen, like, birth of a child or a collapsed lung kind of thing, they could still maybe get out of it. I mentioned there were other names. Minnesota's Anthony Edwards got 60 games in. He filed a challenge as well. I don't know what his extraordinary circumstance was that he cited, but his challenge was denied. He is not eligible for awards. It went to an independent arbitrator. Nope, you don't get anything. We know Victor's in. Wembanyama's in. He got to that 65-game mark. Jokic got in there on the final day, so he's up there to be voted on. Players that are ineligible for most major awards include LeBron, Giannis, and Golden State's Steph Curry.
I'd love to have seen Giannis like petition to get it, saying, "Look, I wanted to play. They wouldn't let me play." How would that one go in front of an arbitrator when they talk to the Bucks and, "Yeah, this is true. We wouldn't permit him to play. Why are you penalizing the player for a move the team made as a decision?"
I love that. Mr. Atakamhumpo, what is your extraordinary circumstance? I want to play and they won't play me. Well, that's pretty extraordinary.
It is.
All right, now speaking of Steph, he put the Warriors on his back again. Deep three in the final minute. Draymond, big defensive play. And the Warriors, they were down by 13 with under 10 minutes left and came back to beat the Clippers 126-121 to advance in the NBA's play-in tournament. This is that weird thing where a couple of them, you win, you're in. A couple of them, there's another game. Tomorrow night are those games. The Warriors will travel to face the Phoenix Suns tomorrow night in the elimination game. The winner gets the 8 seed and then has to play OKC. Okay, let's fast forward, Steve. Neither the Warriors nor the Suns are going to beat OKC, right?
Correct.
There's not a chance. I mean, I know we play the games for a reason. There's not a chance. So it's really a question now of which team are we going to be talking about on Monday in terms of the offseason. Are we going to be talking about the Phoenix Suns, who surprised a lot of people the way that they handled their season and they came back, and what can they do to continue to improve? Or are we going to be talking about the Warriors, and are they going to burn it down, or are they going to continue to keep rebuild? But this was Steph Curry. He did it again. I mean, it was fun to watch. We talk about this. It doesn't matter what the situation is or how unique it is. Much bigger stage, Tiger in 2019 coming back, winning the Masters. But when you see these guys remind you, hey, that's Steph. It's so cool to watch.
It really is. And so much for that minutes limitation, 36 minutes for him. And hats off to Draymond Green. I mean, I know there's a lot of people who don't like him. I was a Pistons fan. I love Dennis Rodman. To me, Draymond Green is the Dennis Rodman of the current era. And he took Kawhi Leonard out of the game in the fourth quarter. We all knew it was Kawhi. He had to win it for the Clippers. He flat out took them out of the game. They couldn't do anything. They forced a couple of huge turnovers late in that game as they went on to win. I was thinking about this morning because I think Kawhi's contract is up at the end of this year and he'll be a free agent. I don't think the Warriors are going to burn it down just because it's the Warriors, and I don't see them moving on from Steph Curry. So they will bury this franchise in an effort to give Curry one more run at it. And I know they tried trading for him this past year or the year before. I know the Warriors have had interest in him. Wouldn't it be something if they go and they picked up Kawhi to join the Warriors next year? And yet another run at trying to win it all with all of these aging veterans.
Well, you did it again. You led me right into it, because on Monday, are we talking about the Suns or the Warriors and what are they going to do? Well, the Clippers are done, so we're all talking about what are the Clippers going to do. Kawhi didn't want to talk about it after the game last night, but he is eligible to extend his contract for 2 additional seasons. The Clippers can offer $126 million over 2 seasons. But the likeliness of that is pretty low given a lot of the extraordinary circumstances. There was that messy Chris Paul thing that sent him to Toronto. He eventually retired. And then there's the Clippers are embroiled in this investigation because Kawhi signed an endorsement deal with Aspiration, and they're bankrupt now, and the NBA's got an investigation, and Kawhi was asked about that, and he said, ask the NBA. To your point, it was February this year. The Warriors were among the teams that called the Clippers to inquire about Kawhi's availability at the time, because there was a lot of chatter. Is he going to stay with the Clippers, or are they going to unload him? Talks fizzled. Well, now what? Does he go to Golden State? People are saying, could this be the answer? He had a hell of a season. Most points per game in his career. Finished top 10 field goal percentage, 2-point percentage, and 3-point percentage. Oh, and he played 66 games, so he could have qualified for postseason awards if he had such a season. Why not?
Right. It's just, and with that salary, I don't know if he would qualify because I don't think they can give him that kind of money as a free agent, which is where I see him going back to the Clippers at 60+ million per year. But is there a way of doing that exemption of the sign and trade? Look, you're going to sign him with the. And if you're the Clippers, why wouldn't you do it? Because now I'm getting something back for him. I sign him to the contract. He goes to where he wants to, and I get something in return. That would make sense. I just don't know if the NBA does the sign and trades anymore.
And the vision, like you said, of the Warriors and this aging roster yet again, going out there in the West and trying just one more time. Um, on one hand, it could be an extraordinary story. We assume Butler's going to be back and healthy. But wow, that seems to me like that would be something they would target, especially like you said, and like is confirmed, they were already interested in him just 2 months ago.
Yes, it'd be fun. And where I'm at to burn it down is because I think even if they picked him up, I just don't see them competing. I'd like to see Kawhi go to, say, the Spurs and give a little bit there. Now I got something, I mean, they got some really good guards as it is, but then I go and I have Kawhi with Wemby there as well. That would be a lot of fun to watch too.
The other game last night, Tyrese Maxey scored 31. The Sixers I love this. This is ESPN. The Sixers weathered the absence of Joel Embiid. Well, that's just every day in Philadelphia for the last 3 seasons. That's kind of become business as usual. They beat the Magic 109-97 last night. They are the number 7 seed in the Eastern Conference. The Sixers are. They move on to a first round series that begins Sunday at Boston. No chance. No chance.
No chance. And I think last night's game just kind of continued to expose the problem that's been with the Magic. I think they're 27th, 28th in the league in 3-point field percentage. They haven't had anybody who could consistently fill that bucket from 3. We watched again last night, 7 for 27, and just goes to the Warriors. The Warriors won the game because of Draymond's defense, stepped it up, shut Kawhi down. And what they hit 7, I think last I had heard they'd hit 7 threes in that fourth quarter. They were hitting the 3. That's what made the big run back. It was exciting to watch, but the Magic haven't been able to consistently hit the 3s for years, and they were exposed.
And this is part of what we've been talking about too with the parody-ishness of various leagues. There's a couple of full first round series that are compelling, and then there's some like these two that we've highlighted. Where look, hey, I'm not hating. What a story it would be if somehow the Celtics fell to the Sixers. I mean, wow. But the likeliness. There's a couple of these series where you're like, why are we even playing these games? And so of the what are we down to now? There's like 6 of them that have no business being there still, and we got to eliminate them and then get to the real games. I mean, look, Denver. Minnesota's like fired up. We want to prove something, that kind of thing. That's compelling. But the Sixers and the Celtics, no, no.
And that's why the Celtics are $11 to $12 favorite in the series. As a fan, how exciting would it be for the East if the Celtics lost to the Sixers, and now you're going, ooh, maybe the Sixers team is real. The Cavs suddenly go, wow, maybe someone in the NBA would finally put a flyer out at, you know what? I think the Knicks could actually win it because you said they pulled 200 players and none of them said the Knicks could win it. The Knicks would have hope. The Pistons would have hope. It would turn that entire Eastern Conference into excitement, all knowing none of them, and they already pretty much know this, can beat the West, but that would solidify, at least the Celtics, I think, can give somebody a good run for it. But if the Celtics dropped out, no one has any shot at winning the West in the championship.
The other straggling story comes from the LaMelo Ball Bam Adebayo story from Wednesday, where Miami Heat coach Eric Spoelstra said that Ball should have been ejected. They didn't do anything at the time. And when you watch the replay, it was such a flagrant trip. And what did LaMelo Ball say? He said, "Oh, I apologize on that one. I got hit in the head and I didn't really know where I was, but I'm going to check in on him to see if he's okay and everything." That's what Ball told reporters after the game. You got hit in the head. And so you somehow grabbed his ankle and tripped him and knocked him out of the game. Okay. So here's the thing: the NBA, they fined him 35 grand. Okay, that's like fining you and me $20. They assessed a flagrant foul 2 on him. Okay. The thing is, none of this does anything for the Heat. The Heat are done. They're gone. This is such a this feels so hollow. The NBA had to do something. And my other question too, Steve, before you comment is, what about the refs? Is there any type of accountability for the refs completely blowing this, missing? I heard the defense yesterday. The refs didn't want to get involved because it was such a fast play and they may have really missed it, or they just didn't want to interfere, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You still got to call this. So is there accountability for the refs? There's nothing for the Heat, and this is just, it feels like this is just spackling the wall kind of thing.
Things like this keep pushing me more and more towards the technology. So, breaking down what you said, one, I got hit in the head, so I didn't really know. Well, if you got hit in the head bad enough that you really don't know what's going on around you, shouldn't you be in concussion protocol? That did not happen. The $35,000 fine, and I'll be honest, I had to read it twice because I thought it was 350,000, and I'm like, okay. Then I saw the 35,000, and I would, don't NBA players get fined more than that when they wear a not approved tennis shoe on the court? I mean, I swear they get fined more for wearing their shoes or a uniform violation than the 35,000. No, the NBA is not going to hold any of the referees responsible. That's what we've been asking: accountability at all the different levels and all the different sports. That's not how it works with any of these sports leagues. We're watching that in the NFL referee discussion because the NFL wants to be able to hold them accountable, and that's one of the biggest pushbacks from the NFL and why we may see replacement refs. And finally, and what I think is true to the heart, the refs didn't see it. They missed it. They could not go back and make a call for something they didn't see. They're not going to come out and admit, I got caught up in the play and I was just not paying attention. I didn't see that. I was watching the ball and no one saw it.
The Hornets play Orlando tomorrow night in the other game, to figure out the final spot. By the way, so LaMelo Ball this year is making about $35 million. So $35,000 is not 10% of his salary. It's not 1% of his salary. It's 0.01% of the salary that he'll make this year. We will take a break and be right back.
Rob and Steve continue next, only on the radnetwork.com.
The first time Corey walked into my home, I came around the corner, extended my right hand to shake it, and said to him, "Wow, you're big." And that would be Corey from QuickDumpsters.com. Quick is spelled wrong intentionally. Quick, Q-U-I-K Dumpsters.com. That's QuickDumpsters.com. Corey's yet another maggot launching his own locally owned and operated business, and boy, did I need him, and really we all do. Things pile up, you get frustrated, you keep saying, we need to make a dump run. Pretty soon it's more than a dump run, and now you need to rent a truck or have one of those ugly upside-down box cars parked in front of your house that you fill up yourself. Or, you do like I did, you call Corey at QuickDumpsters.com. In my case, my house had fallen into complete disarray as my late wife Christina had lost her 2-year battle with congestive heart failure, and amongst the many things left were gathering her things and finding what to donate and what had to just go in that pile of stuff where we were both going, why did we ever buy this? And it all could have been so overwhelming had Corey not just walked in, taken charge, and removed dozens of boxes of total junk, unusable dog kennels, desks that were falling apart, a worthless old smoker that couldn't be fixed, bag after bag of crap, and I can't remember what else. He was quick, spelled wrong, Q-U-I-K, quiet and clean. Well, he wasn't clean. I mean, he was. But I'm not commenting on his hygiene. I meant that his work was clean. He swept everything when he was done, and the house looked like he'd never even been there. Corey's the real deal, and I couldn't be more proud and happy to call him a brand new advertiser. His story is incredible, his dedication unmatched, and his motivation to succeed larger than he is, and that's saying something. Quotes are free. You don't even have to have them over to your house. Just send him some pics or videos, and you'll get your price, schedule your day and time, and watch someone else get that junk out of your house. Go to quickdumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, dumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, dumpsters.com. If you've never heard of microseal, let me tell you what it isn't. It is not a really small marine mammal. Get it? A microseal? Oh, fine. Just ask AI. AI describes microseal this way, with a bunch of AI words. Microseal is a premium, eco-friendly, and biodegradable fabric protection spray that penetrates deep into fibers to provide permanent stain, soil, and sun fade resistance for rugs, furniture, and delicate fabrics. It uses nanotechno blah blah blah, and blah 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 blah. What AI is trying to say is that microseal is non-toxic, non-allergenic, safe for pets and children, and, although AI doesn't say this, it should, you need to contact longtime maggot Joel from AdvantageSteam.com right now to get him to apply microseal for you. You can even make appointments online at AdvantageSteam.com. We've had microseal for years at Williams Manor, and it treats a lot more than carpets. Microseal protects virtually all fibrous materials, including wool, cotton, silk, suede, leather, and synthetic fabrics. It protects upholstery, carpets, rugs, draperies, and clothing, including wedding dresses. And ladies, you're going to need what? 3 or 4 of those in your lifetime. And it protects against stains, moisture, and UV degradation without changing the texture. Also, if you're an interior designer, Joel has a special program just for you, and all you have to do is say the password, which is what? What? There's no password, I guess. Never mind. Whoever you are, contact Joel at AdvantageSteam.com. And if you're an interior designer, tell him, I guess. I don't know. That's AdvantageSteam.com, where you'll learn more about microseal and everything else that Joel offers. At AdvantageSteam.com. That's AdvantageSteam.com. AdvantageSteam.com.
For them, every day is a must-win. Huh? What does that even mean? Back to Rob and Steve. Email the show at res@theradnetwork.com.
Right on time. Quick follow-up. The NBA fined LaMelo Ball $35,000 for the tripping play that knocked Bam Adebayo out of the game on Wednesday. Obviously, in Charlotte, they were thrilled there was no suspension because he'll play tomorrow night for the Hornets against Orlando. Miami coach Eric Spoelstra, who went out of his way to say this isn't why we lost, but he should have been ejected, continues to take the high road, saying moments ago that he doesn't think that Ball needs to be penalized more moving forward. Said, quote, "I don't think he's a dirty player. I just think in that moment it was a dirty play and a dangerous play. It should have been caught at the moment. It wasn't, and you move on," end quote. He's been pretty classy, Spoelstra has. I know I'm pro Spoelstra. I like the way he's handled this, and also, you know, who knows if he's thinking it, but he could be sitting there going, plus it doesn't matter. You can punish him all you want. We still got knocked out of the game. You would have kicked him out. It's a totally different ballgame, literally.
His response is exactly why I love him as a head coach. Not only on the court, I think he's one of the best X's and O's guy and is able to get as much out of his players as anyone, but he's just a class act off the court as well.
So, Steve, I was going through books. I'm doing some cleaning out here at the house for obvious reasons to those that know, and you know, there's so many books lying around. Like, do I really want this or whatever? And I came across this book's like 25 years old, and it was a bunch of sports arguments. And so I didn't do anything. I didn't do any research. I just went through it, and I had highlighted some from who knows when. And I picked out a couple to just throw at us really quickly to that still hold up. Some of these don't hold the test of time, so I didn't highlight those. But and what I like about this is what we always talk about. When you're sitting at the bar, you're sitting at the sports book, you're sitting in the backyard over the barbecue with buddies, and you're talking sports, this is when these things come up. Whether it's greatest of all time, Mount Rushmore, all that stuff. How about this one? You got to pick one, I guess. Which feat was more formidable? Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hit streak or Ted Williams' 406 season? So you got to pick one.
Wow.
Is it more formidable to go 56 games in a row and get a hit, or go an entire season and hit 406?
And the problem with that is no one really has come that close to either one.
Not really.
And the 406 is probably where I would lean for Ted Williams, because he had to do it for the entire season, not just a 56 game streak where and Joe DiMaggio, what he did, I don't think anybody's going to pass it. So I think he's going to hold on to that. But the other thing about Ted Williams's 406 nobody talks about is I want to say he was hitting 400 on the last day, because the manager came to him and asked him if he wanted to play, and he had the ability to sit. They were playing a doubleheader against Baltimore, I believe, and he had the ability to sit, and then it would go into the books as hitting 400. He said, no, I'm playing. He played both games, and I want to say he went 4 for 6 on the day in order to get to that 406. So he wasn't chasing, look, I want to hold on and go in at 400. He's like, I'm playing. There's no rest management here. I'm going to play. If I hit over 400, I deserved it. And he showed the world how great of a hitter he was, because not only did he not hit just 400, he went up to 406.
Now, again, I didn't do any research because that wouldn't have been fair. Hey, Steve, let's argue with something that I spent all night researching. Remind me, if you remember, neither one of us was around for it. Did DiMaggio do it in one season, or was it over 2 seasons? Like he ended at 30 and then hit another 26. Do you remember?
All one season. It did not roll for one season, which is what makes that even more impressive. You know, hey, look, I have 30 to end this season here, and I started off with 26. This was a continuous through that one season.
I do lean towards Ted Williams in anyways. I was going, but and you brought up DiMaggio. Will anyone catch him? Well, he actually broke a record that actually in 1896 and 97, Willie Keeler of the Baltimore Orioles had gotten a hit in 45 straight games. So he set the record. DiMaggio did it 56. The closest since then, Pete Rose in 78 at 44 games. That's the closest since then. I thought we had somebody recently who took a run. Oh, yeah, Jimmy Rollins, but he got to 38 games. That was in 05-06.
Yeah, and Pete Rose broke the National League consecutive game streak in that run. I think we picked it up with the media, and I remember watching this as a kid when he got to like 34, 35, I think where it was, and it was that meter every day. Pete Rose, here we go. And just the fact he got to 44 was, amazing in itself.
Other one I highlighted here, greatest foot. Now, see, they did it plural, so you can pick a couple. What are the greatest football dynasties of all time? Well, Patriots, right? I mean, how do you not start with the Patriots? Because they did it over 2 decades. I mean, to me, without thinking, I go Patriots, Cowboys, Niners. But then you've got the Steelers. How far back do we go? We're doing Super Bowl era, right? So
I wasn't in the Super Bowl. I immediately went into the Jim Brown and the Cleveland Browns. I went into, the Packers won the first 2 Super Bowls, but they were right there with the Lions right prior to that part. So I dropped into those as well. I don't know the Bears history enough to say if they won a lot in the 30s or 40s. I think you have to go with the Patriots, number 1, because they did it over such a long stretch. My number 2 is probably going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. When you look at, they won 4 and 5 years. I believe it was 5 years, 78, 79, not 77. 75, 76. So they won 4 in a 5-year stretch.
Right.
That's tough
Yeah.
to argue with.
No, yeah, because you're really condensing it down. Whereas it took the Niners 81 to 89 to get 4, and then their fifth one was in 94. God, so did you put the Steelers second then?
I put them second. And I think the thing, again, just off the top of my head, the team that ruined it was that Orange Crush Denver Broncos in there. And that was the 1977 season that they somehow went. Steelers were the better team. The one team I would put in there that it's one of those we'll never know. If Jerry Jones hadn't turned on Jimmy Johnson and he had left Jimmy Johnson in control, I'm really curious to see how many they really would have won, because I still think the Barry Switzer Super Bowl went to Jimmy Johnson. And, would they have won 5 in 6 years? I mean, how many would they have won if Jerry Jones didn't step in? And I will say this to all the Cowboy fans. To me, that is the curse of Jerry by getting rid of Jimmy Jones. The reason we watch it year in and year out, and they always come up short, that decision, like, the curse of the Bambino, I'm hoping haunts the Cowboys for many, many years still to come.
It certainly has for 30 plus years. If you're going to go with the curse thing, if they can't even get back to the postseason, again, this book it was printed in 2002. Their answer was 3-1. The third place all-time dynasty was the 82 to 89 Niners, 4 Super Bowls in 8 years. Their second place team was the Steelers, 4 championships in 6 years. And then they went outside and they did go with the 61 to 67 Packers, because the Pack won 5 championships in 7 years. So if you take out the Super Bowl, they won in 61, 2, 5, 66, 67. So that they kind of split the difference, and that's what they went. So it doesn't look like we missed any, at least.
Yeah, and that Packers team, again, without being able to research it, I knew they had a lot right in there leading up to those first 2 Super Bowls. Just didn't know exactly how many.
Were the that 5-year period, switching sports, when the San Francisco Giants won 3 World Series, was that a dynasty? Was that a mini dynasty?
Man, I think you can kind of argue that they didn't win back to back. They hit, and I don't remember if it was every even year or every odd year. It was like 10, 12, 14 or like 9, 11, 13, something in there. I can't put it there because in my mind, and I'm not taking anything away from the Giants in none of those seasons were the best team in baseball. They got hot at the right time. Madison Bumgarner was unbelievable. He was a good pitcher during regular season, but he hit postseason for that stretch, and he is arguably one of the best postseason pitchers of all time, not just in the modern era, that you and I have watched. And I can't take anything away from it. Buster Posey was a part of that. They were incredible, but I can't put them in the dynasty because I didn't feel they were the best team. They were the best team who won at the right time.
That's why I've always used that phrase, mini dynasty. But I also use that as a setup question. So where are we? Not the last season notwithstanding, where are we modern times with the Chiefs? Are they a dynasty? Are they a potential dynasty? If they win 1 or 2 more in the Mahomes-Reed era, they're certainly a dynasty.
I think they're really flirting with it. I'm just not sure they're really going to get there, because depending on how Patrick Mahomes returns, we've seen Mahomes not look quite the same as he was. The salary cap and everything has caught up with the Chiefs. Are the Chiefs going to be able to return to that high level of elite like we expect? I'm not convinced they're ever going to get back to that level where they were before.
But if they did, they'd be a dynasty, or they'd be in the conversation.
If they did, I think they deserve to be in the conversation.
But they're not currently. If they don't get back, they're not. They were really good, but they're not. We agree?
I agree with that because I would throw the Cowboys in there for what they kind of did, with the Jimmy Johnson argument of look, they blew themselves up. And that wasn't done by an injury, that was done by the owner.
All right, two more, a couple more, and these are both baseball ones. This is a long-standing one, and it doesn't come up very often, but it does come up now and then. Should pitchers win the MVP award?
No.
Never.
I think they should always be two separate awards. Um, a buddy of mine many years ago used to argue, well, if hitters could win the pitching award, then Ozzie Smith would win the Cy Young because he saves so many runs every year for the Cardinals that allows this Cardinals team in the 80s to win all of those baseball games. So he should win the Cy Young because he does more to help that pitching staff than anyone. I just, there's that pitchers, what you get 32 starts a season, especially now. I mean, you're not even logging 250, 300 innings. You're not getting, double digit complete games. I don't even think you can even argue for the most part a pitcher winning the MVP. It still happens, but in my world, no pitcher should win the MVP.
What about the example that I think is very often, I'm not going to say most, very often cited, of a guy like who throws a lot more than just 32 games, like Dennis Eckersley, and shuts everything down and is maybe the Cy Young winner and the MVP winner?
Okay, and in almost every game he goes in with a lead. He just maintains that lead in order to protect it, and that's where he gets his saves. And while he has been unbelievable, even Eckersley in his prime was still logging 80, 90 innings. Maybe he'd get to 100. There's nothing like Mike Marshall in early 70s. Here's a relief pitcher with the Expos. I want to say he threw like 180 some innings as a relief pitcher. That would be something I would consider if you're going to
Okay.
look at that MVP. But a relief pitcher in itself, I can't give it to. That's like giving it to a great pinch hitter. I start once or twice a week, but I'm a great pinch hitter, so I get 200, 250 at bats through the course of the season. That's not in the conversation in my world.
It's way early, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves from last night's game. But wouldn't it be interesting if he keeps going the way he's going, that Shohei Ohtani wins the Cy Young award for his pitching, but he also wins the MVP award for everything because of his pitching and his hitting. If his hitting stays, it's a different argument. It's not the same discussion, but that one would be the outlier.
I would love to see him make a run at that because everything I've said obviously would go out the window because he's doing both. One of the things, I don't know if you noticed last night, but Shohei did not bat. He did not take
No,
the DH
right?
spot.
Yeah.
That's something if I'm the Dodgers, and I know it's so difficult to take him out of the lineup. But one of the reasons I wanted him concentrating on pitching is I felt the hitting would interfere. And if anyone can do it, he can do it. I would like to see the Dodgers not have him in the lineup on the days that he's pitching so he can prep, get ready, and solely focus on pitching because he really is an elite pitcher. And on those days that he goes, I would like to keep him as focused on the pitching as possible. But it's tough to keep him out of that lineup.
Although, to your earlier point, if there's a lineup that can handle him being out for a game, it's the Dodgers, which is a stacked lineup.
Right. I mean, they got Pages hitting like 406 or whatever it is. What's he hitting? Seventh in that lineup. And he's hitting over 400. And we're, 30 games or 20 games, into the season.
Last one. Okay, you modern guy in the game right now. Okay, you absolutely positively need a home run for whatever reason, whatever you got to tell yourself. Win the World Series, save your life, whatever. You absolutely positively need a home run. Who do you want at the plate?
Aaron Judge.
It's got to be.
I think he's proven it year in and year out. I know Cal Raleigh had his 60 homers last year. That's one season. Shohei is there, but Aaron Judge hits for a higher average. He hits the ball, I think, a little bit more consistently, and he has always had that power.
The Shohei thing is as I've said before, he does show up in the biggest moments, and so if we're envisioning that everybody knows he has to hit a home run to save my life, then maybe he steps in. I'm still taking Aaron Judge for all the reasons that you said. We can talk about current baseball. We'll go back to the Shohei thing and everything that happened yesterday after this.
It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show, only on the radnetwork.com.
If you go to AdvantageSteam.com, which you should, at the top of the page, you'll see the Services tab. Click on it, and you'll see that Advantage Steam does carpet and upholstery cleaning. They protect fabric and fiber. They clean and seal tile and grout. They polish natural stone. They clean rugs, especially those really nice ones from foreign countries. And they treat urine damage. And not just urine, but vomit and feces. Ew. Yuck. I assume if you need that service, you either have children or pets or you live in a frat house. But either way, they'll take care of you. Of course, Advantage Steam also applies MicroSeal. And if you don't know what that is by now, then you just suck. Joel is the local small business owner of AdvantageSteam.com. He's a lifelong maggot, and he's treated, cleaned, protected, polished, and microsealed the homes of countless members of the RAD team over the years, various RAD studios, and of course, Williams Manor. And I hate admitting this, but he is a genuinely really great, nice guy. In fact, if you tell him I said that, you'll get 0% off all services. So go to AdvantageSteam.com. Click on Make an Appointment, enter in your available dates and any comments, like maybe type, Rob said you're a really great, nice guy. Please give me 0% off. And they will get you all set up. Just go to AdvantageSteam.com. That's AdvantageSteam.com.
Hello, the Rob and Steve Sports Show is many minutes away, right here on the radnetwork.com.
The first time Corey walked into my home, I came around the corner, extended my right hand to shake it, and said to him, "Wow, you're big." And that would be Corey from QuickDumpsters.com. Quick is spelled wrong intentionally. Quick, Q-U-I-K Dumpsters.com. That's QuickDumpsters.com. Corey's yet another maggot launching his own locally owned and operated business, and boy, did I need him, and really we all do. Things pile up, you get frustrated, you keep saying, we need to make a dump run. Pretty soon it's more than a dump run, and now you need to rent a truck or have one of those ugly upside-down box cars parked in front of your house that you fill up yourself. Or, you do like I did, you call Corey at QuickDumpsters.com. In my case, my house had fallen into complete disarray as my late wife Christina had lost her 2-year battle with congestive heart failure, and amongst the many things left were gathering her things and finding what to donate, what had to just go in that pile of stuff where we were both going, why did we ever buy this? And it all could have been so overwhelming had Corey not just walked in, taken charge, and removed dozens of boxes of total junk, unusable dog kennels, desks that were falling apart, a worthless old smoker that couldn't be fixed, bag after bag of crap, and I can't remember what else. He was quick, spelled wrong, Q-U-I-K, quiet and clean. Well, he wasn't clean. I mean, he was. But I'm not commenting on his hygiene. I meant that his work was clean. He swept everything when he was done, and the house looked like he'd never even been there. Corey's the real deal, and I couldn't be more proud and happy to call him a brand new advertiser. His story is incredible, his dedication unmatched, and his motivation to succeed larger than he is, and that's saying something. Quotes are free. You don't even have to have them over to your house. Just send him some pics or videos, and you'll get your price, schedule your day and time, and watch someone else get that junk out of your house. Go to QuickDumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, Dumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, Dumpsters.com.
This is sports talk, how it should be. Rob and Steve do it right. They actually talk sports. Email the show at ras@theradnetwork.com.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, wherever you are, whenever you do so. You can find everything about the Rob and Steve show online at theradnetwork.com. We were talking some silly little sports arguments that are out there you get into with your buddies at sports bars. And we got into the Shohei area a little bit. Sure enough, Shohei had gone 16 innings without allowing a run this season until MJ Melendez came to bat yesterday, top of the fifth. Got a ground rule double that got the Mets on board, and a lot of people say that really pissed Shohei off because his next 4 fastballs went over 100 miles an hour. Got him out of the only trouble he faced all night. Dodgers swept the Mets 8-2, as Steve mentioned in our previous segment. Marked the first time that Shohei Ohtani pitched but did not hit since May 28th of 2021. And another dominant start, 1 run, struck out 10 batters in 6 innings. 3 starts in, his ERA is .50. And as you said, Steve, everybody, well, not everybody, a lot of people, most people, and even I think certainly a plurality of sports and baseball fans, they think of Shohei and they think of hitting, and certainly last season really helped that because he wasn't pitching. Damn, he is a hell of a pitcher. He is so impressive. He is so dominant. And I don't even have the words for it. It's just, he is such an amazing pitcher.
And he's doing it as a hobby. Just think if he was able to sit down and do the pitcher's normal routines. He gets 30, 32 starts in a season, studies the film, studies all the hitters, and, does all the research and work that all the other pitchers do. He shows up like it's Little League. Here we go. I'm starting today. Let's just take the mound. This is the stuff I have. Let's see if they can hit it. And he goes, and he's this dominating. And yes, I know he does more work than that. He probably works pretty hard. But there's no way he can put in the time of, Tariq Skubal, Paul Skeens, all of these other. There's no way he can do that. And he's still able to be that dominating, which is why originally, and I'll say this again, I did not realize when he first came over before we saw him play how great of a hitter he was. But everything I had heard and I had read, we knew he was a top 5 pitcher if he solely focused on pitching. And that's so difficult to come by, which is where I was all in favor for. They need to make him a full-time pitcher and then allow him to hit on those other days. It would be great to see, and it's been great to see him do both. It would be great to see if he only concentrated on pitching, on would he be the best pitcher in all of baseball consistently day in and day out.
Yeah, and then you start getting into the would he win 30, and all those things that you start to wonder about. As we mentioned, they swept the Mets, who lost one of their very, very few bright spots left. Jared Young, utility man, is on the IL. He's got a meniscus tear in his left knee. He's 7 for 20 this season. He's going to have surgery. He's out 6 to 8 weeks. Juan Soto still working his way back from a calf strain. Bob Nightingale writes for the USA Today sports section. He admits in this article he posted this morning, we're only 10% into the Major League Baseball season. And he says it's 6 weeks before we can adequately evaluate any team. Okay, I'm good with that. End of May? Sure. We can really at that point start to look and go, not looking good. And we might still be wrong. Remember, I keep referencing it, but, what was last season? The Tigers were being counted out in August. But it's a relatively good benchmark. So he admits all that. And then he says what we always say is, look, in the world of talk radio and social media and gambling and everything else, we all overreact and overjudge. So he came up with his list, surprises, disappointments, etc. Would you agree, Steve? And there's others, but he's got the biggest disappointment right now are the New York Mets. He says they're a mess. Last place, 7-12, lost 8 games in a row. They've scored 3 runs in their last 38 games. They went down in order 15 times in the 3-game series against the Dodgers. They've been shut out 5 times this year. They have the second lowest batting average in the National League. They've had 4 players who have endured hitless streaks of at least 20 at bats. Yeah, they've got injury issues, but he says you take in their New York, their payroll, they're the biggest disappointment. There's others. Hard to argue that the Mets aren't it.
Yeah, I think the Mets have to be there just because of their payroll, etc. But you look at the lineup, and their lineup, Pete Alonso moved on to the Orioles. This lineup doesn't scare anyone. Their pitching isn't, oh, this is hands down the best pitching staff in the league. They just spend a lot of money for some pretty good players. I'm not even going to say great players outside of Juan Soto. Lindor's a pretty good shortstop. I mean, he's up there when he's playing well. I'm not saying I wouldn't take some other shortstops for a lot less money and put them in there, and I would feel that I'm ahead because I can spend the money on some other players. I think Toronto is also right there. They went to the World Series. The Blue Jays are 7-10. They've lost 7 of their last 10. I think the Blue Jays have been a really disappointing team as well. But I do agree with the Mets are the most disappointing.
That is very interesting that you throw the Blue Jays in there because, especially since they were in the World Series last year, he didn't mention them. And you've got to compare, like, how could that not be a disappointment? Now, although I certainly wasn't, I didn't like go, oh my God, how could you do that on there? His second biggest disappointment are the San Francisco Giants, which, whether they're the second biggest disappointment, they're a disappointment. This is not what the Giants and their fans expected.
No, and if you ask me personally, not the big picture, to me personally, the Giants are my biggest disappointment this season. And the reason is I never had high hopes for the Mets in the first place. Regardless of their payroll, I thought the Braves were a better team with their pitching if they get any of their pitchers back. And I think the Phillies are a better team. So I was viewing the Mets as a second or third place team to start with. I really thought the Giants would be the team that we're watching the Padres be
Mhm.
this year. And they have not done that. Their pitching hasn't, been the greatest. They're not hitting the ball. Giants just haven't done anything well. So personally, the Giants are, to me, hands down the most disappointing to me personally.
Well, what about you personally? The team that he's got as the third biggest disappointment, your Boston Red Sox.
They play in a tough division, and yes, I am getting frustrated with them. I said early on the only team that cannot win that division is the Tampa Bay Rays, and I think the Yankees were the only team that could not finish last in that division. I think all the other teams you can move them around and make a case for any other spot in there. So the Red Sox finishing fourth, maybe even fifth, wasn't that big of a stretch to me. I still thought they'd be a good team. They just may not live up to full expectations. I've flat out said I believe the Giants are a playoff team this year. They will get a wild card spot. And 6-12, nah. And as bad as they're playing, they don't even look good.
No, no, it's not like they're losing. Okay, here's the analogy I would use. The A's started the season, they got swept by the Blue Jays, and they struck out 50 times that weekend. But I said the whole time, they looked like they belonged on the field with what at the time was the losing team from the World Series. The Giants don't look like that. The Giants look like a clown show. They do not look good at all, and that's where it's hard to find that ray of light for them if you're a fan. Mm.
I don't see that ray of light anytime soon. And Joe Girardi, where entirely
Mm.
dismissed that, you know, maybe Buster Posey's got to really sit back and evaluate this decision. And I've always believed in if you make a decision, you believed it at the time, but then you watch it unfold in front of you, you're better off cutting bait quickly than sitting there and trying to ride it out and then just knowing it's never going to work and you hold on too long and you destroy other parts of your system.
The other two teams that Bob Nightingale put on his most disappointing list, I've got issues with both of them. First of all, the Astros, okay, they have been decimated by injuries, and we've done this to the Astros before, so I'm kind of like, eh. And then your thing with the Mets is what I apply to his fifth biggest disappointment. The Rockies? Nobody expected anything out of the Rockies. How are they a disappointment? What did I miss?
I would tell you I've been impressed with the Rockies. They're 6-12. This is a team I wasn't sure would get over 50 wins on the season. And I know they've been losing it as of late. They've lost 6 in a row. But back out those 6 games, roll back to the A's a few years back when I'm like, look, you're in April. You're at 500. Hold on to this because it's going to get a lot worse. And the Rockies have got worse. Rockies were 6-6 at some point. That can't be that big of a disappointment.
Now, a team that didn't make the surprise list, we'll go over that, are the A's, the Sacramento A's, the Athletics, whatever we're calling them. Shea Langoliers in the sixth inning last night hit the longest home run in Major League Baseball this season. It was a monster, 467 feet. A's beat the Rangers 6-5. It was the sixth home run of the season for Langoliers. The Athletics have won 7 of their last 8. And Steve, you keep talking about bats get hot, pitching shows up. JT Ginn had another great showing after the on the road against the Mets on April 10th, where he gave up 1 hit over 4 innings in 68 pitches. Yesterday, he went to 78 pitches in 5 1/3 innings. Again, where the A's wind up and such, a long way to go, but they're clicking, they're looking good, they're playing well.
Yeah, JT Ginn to me was a big surprise. His 2 outings, he's given up a total of 2 runs in a little over 9 innings. They got to get Severino fully on board. Jeffrey Springs, here's another guy. He's given up 4 runs for the A's in almost 25 innings. He's been a big surprise. And Aaron Savalier, he's another guy. He's only given up 3 runs in 15 and 2/3 innings. So the A's have been getting surprise pitching, which for me shows why they're at where they're at, even though they had that bad series against the Blue Jays. We knew they're going to hit. We knew they were going to score runs. My question comes down to Nick Kurtz. This guy's like second in the league in strikeouts, but he's second in the league in walks as well. So it's like not a whole lot of action when he's at the plate. But if they get him hot, and he will get hot, when he starts hitting that ball in that A's lineup to go with these other guys, Soderstrom, Wilson. The question I've been asking myself on the A's, and I want to see this, is when do the A's realize, and I know Jeff McNeil is there and he's filling space and he's a pretty good second base. When do they say, look, we're moving Wilson to second base? He's our long-term answer. And we're bringing up this DeVries kid who is one of the top prospects. The A's traded Mason Miller for him. This kid, I want to say, is 19. He's the next guy on this list I think needs to get signed. But it's the A's. It won't happen. So don't even put that there. But when this kid hits the big leagues also to go along with all this other talent, and I don't know how long they can keep him down. He is too good to be playing minor league baseball. We saw him in spring training just rip the cover off the ball. Let's bring him up. Let's make this a real big time A's team. And with that, if they can keep this pitching going, I do believe the A's can not only compete for a wild card spot, I think they can compete to win this division.
So you dropped 2 names in there, Jeffrey Springs. The A's are high on him. They have been. From what I hear and see, they aren't surprised at what they're getting out of him. But as you were talking, the game's on right now. They're playing a day game in Sacramento, and Nick Kurtz was up. And I was just waiting to bring up Nick Kurtz, and you did, because he's only batting 186. He flew out to center, by the way. And then the question becomes, is this just the Aaron Judge thing? He's got a slow start. Or has the league figured him out? That's always the fear is, oh my God, this young phenom, have they figured out what's going on? You want to believe that a guy as talented as Kurtz, he'll find his way, and that this is just a slow start. And meanwhile, the Langoliers of that lineup and others can just pick him up and keep the A's moving.
Yeah, and with Kurtz, you look at he's in a $180. Yes, it needs to be better. I don't worry about him because he's still getting on base at over a 350 clips. So he's not hurting the team because he's still a base runner, still getting on base. And he is too good to not heat up and get going. He will. They play in Sacramento. That's a hitter's dream for a ballpark. He will be there. His numbers will be there. Don't worry about him. I view it kind of like Aaron Judge and his slow starts as well.
By the way, I didn't know this until the other night when I was watching the A's game. Sutter Health Park Field, whatever they call it, that has the biggest, the widest warning track in all of the major leagues. And when they showed it, I was like, my God, that is it's enormous. I didn't look up the measurements, but you can visually see if they hadn't been pointing it out and they would have shown it, I would have been. That's a big, big. But yes, it's still a huge hitter's park. It's like 402 to center, but outside, I mean, right and left field, boom. It's for the taking. Although Langolier's home run would have flown out of anywhere last night. Okay, so surprises from Bob Nightingale for this. I'm sorry, did you want to add something, Steve? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to add, the other beauty that no one talks about the A's getting out of the Oakland Coliseum is all that foul territory that all those foul balls went to die. And they don't have that, which is great because that's one of the things I hated about that ballpark.
It's so funny you said because it was early in the season and it was one of the announcers, and it had to be the A's announcers because they don't get a lot of National League games. But they were talking about somebody hit a pop up into foul territory, and I literally looked at my TV and I said, "There is no foul. Like there is no foul territory in that park." They went from the biggest. I think the Coliseum had the largest amount of foul territory to the smallest. There's none there. Oh, but they got the big warning track. Okay. Surprises, biggest surprises, according to Bob Nightingale from USA Today. Only 10% of the season gone in Major League Baseball. Number one, Minnesota Twins, best record in the league at 11-8, hitting the daylights out of the ball. They're third most in Major League Baseball, and then they end by saying, "But the Twins aren't for real. They're just the biggest surprise right now."
My biggest surprise is the Atlanta Braves. When you look at their pitching that they have lost going into the season with Strider and Schellenbach and nobody expected the Braves to be there. They're sitting at 12-7 at top of that division. I thought everyone, I was included, that you thought they would be sitting around 500. And for me, it was just survive to the second half, and then maybe you can kick it in and make a playoff run. But they're playing great baseball. And the run differential leads baseball. Nope, the Dodgers passed them now. The Braves, plus 44 runs in 19 games. They are crushing the ball offensively.
By the way, he had Nightingale had the Braves' third biggest surprise, and sandwiched between are the Pirates in second, who are tied for first place with the Reds. And he points out it ain't just Skeens. Look at that whole pitching staff. That's where why he put the Pirates second is the biggest surprise.
And I'm not that surprised by the Pirates. I had high expectations going into the season. I think he's viewing it as the Pirates that we all know. If you've watched the Pirates over the last several years, you know they have all this good young talent coming up. And that's why, to me, you can't really put a surprise in there. I put the Padres ahead of the Pirates with what they've done. Huge win again last night. I mean, they scored 5 in the bottom of the ninth against the Mariners, who are third in baseball in pitching. It was an amazing game. The Padres are gelling so well as a team right now. They've won 7 straight, and I know you hit your win meter. Sorry to jump to that. But the Padres, to me, are a much bigger surprise than the Pirates.
Well, and they have to be. It's if they to keep up with the Dodgers to stay in it. I mean, yeah, wild card and all that, but they've got to be, and they are surprised. And you did with the Pirates, you did the reverse Mets, reverse Rockies thing. We didn't expect anything out of the Mets or the Rockies. How can they be disappointing? And I'm with you with the Pirates and with the Reds. They're not surprising. The Reds are a year late, and the Pirates, I expected them to be second-ish or third-ish, but right in the hunt the whole season. So yeah, I think you're right. It's like the Pirates. They haven't done anything. Well, okay, take a little. And Nightingale's a good reporter, right? But that did feel lazy to me. I agree. Speaking of the Padres, Nick Pivetta, their veteran right-hander, he's out for weeks, maybe months, according to the Padres, because of a strain in his right elbow. The hope is that he won't need surgery. But as you said, the Padres are right there with the Dodgers, and they are now 12-6. The Dodgers are 14-4. The Padres have won 7 in a row and 9 of their last 10, and they will host Seattle again tonight, and they are throwing Walker Buehler at the Mariners.
Yeah, Nick Pavetta's a big injury for the Padres. Hopefully he's not out that long. Not only is he a consistent every fifth day going out there, he's an innings eater, and he does give you quality starts. That's tough to replace. Joe Musgrove. I don't know exactly where he's at on his rehab. It'd be nice if Joe Musgrove can find his way back in, but I'm not sure if he's even going to play this year or if he's a couple of weeks away. I have not read anything as of late on where he's at. I like this kid, Randy Vasquez, and this is going to give him an opportunity to step up and show that he belongs in that front of the rotation with the Padres because I think he has that kind of stuff. And Walker Bueller, enough. He's going tonight. Look, you got to return to the Walker Bueller that you were with the Dodgers before you had your last injury. And if he does that and Vasquez steps up, Michael King continues to throw the ball well. I think the Padres are all right. But if those players don't step up and take that lead role, it's going to be tough for the Padres.
You mentioned, the streak meter we look at with baseball in particular. 5 or more is usually what we look at. Oh, those oh so disappointing Rockies that we all expected so much out of. They've lost 6 in a row now, and they'll be at Houston tonight, who was also on the disappointing list. Houston, they're not on the streak meter, but my God, they've lost. They've won 2 of their last 10. They're tied for last place, although it's not really last place in the West. I mean, they're 8-11, and the A's are in first at 10-8. That's just one big bunched up division, and it comes down to health and for everybody, and who's going to pull away if anybody. Or is the West going to be the wild West in the American League all the way through it? Is it just a whole 5-team parity division?
Well, I, the West with the National League West is the Dodgers. There's nothing there. The West with the AL, I'm not sure Houston's really going to be able to hang in there. I think it's outside of the AL East. I think it is the most exciting division in there. But I'm going to throw something at you here with the Colorado Rockies. So the Rockies are at Houston. Let's say they lose tonight. And that wouldn't be a surprise because they've lost 6 straight. They go home where they've played well. They're 4-2 at home. But they play the Dodgers for 4 games coming up this weekend. Then they have the Padres. Then they have the Mets. If the Mets are still floundering a week and a half away, okay. But let's say the Mets rebound to the Mets. And that's at the Mets, and then at Cincinnati, and then home against the Braves. And that takes us through May 3rd. Do the Rockies win a game? I mean, by matchups, you can say no, and they will win because, every team wins. Used to be every team wins 60, every team loses 60. It's what you do at the middle 42. But outside of going home, there's nothing bright on this Rockies schedule coming up. They're already playing 333 baseball. I mean, are they going to drop down to 250 by the end of this next, 12 games?
A couple others to mention, those Tampa Bay Rays, they have won 5 in a row, and they're at the White Sox again right now, so another gift for them. And the Tigers, like we said, we think they'll be fine. They've won 5 in a row. And it's not like they're not beating nothing. They're hosting Kansas City right now again.
Tigers have been such a streaky team. It has been crazy. They keep beating KC like 2-1, so they're not getting the hit, and they need to get it. But this falls into that depth of pitching that we talked about. Their pitching's throwing really well right now. They're not giving up any runs, so they just need their offense to get to 3, and they got a shot to win. And it'll be exciting. They're coming up against the Red Sox. Red Sox got to figure out how to hit the ball and get something going. And you mentioned Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has a kid, and I don't know how many people have watched Tampa Bay play this year. They got a kid hit Chandler Simpson. Fastest guy in baseball. I mean, this is old school baseball. Think of like Vince Coleman or someone like that, fast enough to steal 100 bases. He will bunt the ball. And Tampa Bay, because they don't have a ton of power, have gone to small ball. You need to see this. It was so much reminding me of the 80s Cardinals. They're not going to hit a ton but they put the ball in play. They pressure the other team. They have a lot of sacrifices. And this kid's hitting like 377, something like that. He was hitting over 400, but his goal, he doesn't even want to hit the ball too hard, it appears. It looks like all he wants to do is slap at it like a softball player, slap at it, hit it the other way, and run to first. They got to beat like a 4.1 time in order to throw him out at first. He's able to beat a lot of these soft hit balls, get on base, and then just wreak havoc.
Right now, Tampa Bay in Chicago, they're in the 5th inning. They're tied with the White Sox 1-1. You mentioned the Tigers beat the Royals 2-1 yesterday. It's 2-1 today after 5. The Tigers are leading in that game's in Detroit. Last thing,
and it was 2-1 the day before too.
Right,
Tigers have won the last 2 at 2-1. Let's make it 3 in a row.
Oh, okay. There you go. When we get into football season where there's 17 games, the weekly power rankings seem like a little bit more powerful after the first 4 weeks. It's a little early for baseball, but this is what we do. And I don't. This was what was this? This is ESPN's power rankings. Of course, the Dodgers are number 1. Fine. I didn't. The next 3, I kind of flipped around. They have it. Dodgers number 1. You don't have any problem with that, right? They're number 1.
Yes, they are 1.
Okay. Now their next 3 in order are the Yankees, Braves, and Padres. And I said, I'm moving the Yankees. And I'm not sure if I'm moving the Braves or the Padres to second. I might move the Yankees to 4th. But that was where if I was going to have an issue with their power rankings, Yankees second. Power rankings are supposed to be right now, not for the season. So right now, I'm not sure that I've got the Yankees in the top 3.
See, that gets into the question we asked during football season where, this team's 6-0 and they're the only undefeated team. And I'm rolling to the Colts. Were the Colts, when they had the best record in the NFL, were they the number 1 team in the power rating? And I will tell you, not in my power rating. And that's where I would keep the Yankees second. You could slide them to 4th, but I would keep the Yankees second. I would go the Padres 3rd and then the Braves 4th at that point.
And then rounding out their top 5 was the Phillies. Okay. Which that's
really looking at where a team should be at the end of the season, because the Phillies are not playing anywhere near. They're not even 500. It's tough to put them in your top 5.
No, they're 8-10. And then they go same thing. They go Mariners. They're 8-11. They're 6th. Tigers 500. The Pirates are 8th because they're 11-7, but really they're the 8th for the power rank. This is kind of like an all over the place power ranking thing when you go through it, until you look at who they got on the bottom, which makes a lot of sense. The Rockies, barely behind, I guess, the White Sox. Part of that, especially when you look forward to the Rockies might win one of their next 13 based on what you went through there. The Nationals. See, now the Nationals are 8-10, and they've got them as the 3rd worst or the 3rd lowest on the power rankings. And then the Giants are also down there as well.
I'm not ready to throw the Nationals. They have some good young talent. They just don't have any pitch, and they're scoring runs. But the White Sox and the Rockies are so far worse or so far down there on it that it's a big step up. It's probably a bigger gap between those two and the rest of baseball than it is the Dodgers to the rest of baseball. And keep in mind, I'm talking the Dodgers winning 116 games or more this season. And that just shows how bad those two teams really are.
It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show, only on the radnetwork.com.
If you've never heard of microseal, let me tell you what it isn't. It is not a really small marine mammal. Get it? A microseal? Oh, fine. Just ask AI. AI describes MicroSeal this way with a bunch of AI words. MicroSeal is a premium, eco-friendly, and biodegradable fabric protection spray that penetrates deep into fibers to provide permanent stain, soil, and sun fade resistance for rugs, furniture, and delicate fabrics. It uses nanotechno blah 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 and blue 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 blue. What AI is trying to say is that MicroSeal is non-toxic, non-allergenic, safe for pets and children, and although AI doesn't say this, it should, you need to contact a longtime maggot Joel from AdvantageSteam.com right now to get him to apply MicroSeal for you. You can even make appointments online at AdvantageSteam.com. We've had MicroSeal for years at Williams Manor, and it treats a lot more than carpets. MicroSeal protects virtually all fibrous materials, including wool, cotton, silk, suede, leather, and synthetic fabrics. It protects upholstery, carpets, rugs, draperies, and clothing, including wedding dresses. And ladies, you're going to need what? 3 or 4 of those in your lifetime. And it protects against stains, moisture, and UV degradation without changing the texture. Also, if you're an interior designer, Joel has a special program just for you, and all you have to do is say the password, which is what? What? There's no password, I guess. Never mind. Whoever you are, contact Joel at AdvantageSteam.com. And if you're an interior designer, tell him, I guess. I don't know. That's AdvantageSteam.com, where you'll learn more about MicroSeal and everything else that Joel offers. At AdvantageSteam.com, that's AdvantageSteam.com, AdvantageSteam.com. The first time Corey walked into my home, I came around the corner, extended my right hand to shake it, and said to him, "Wow, you're big." And that would be Corey from QuickDumpsters.com. Quick is spelled wrong intentionally. Quick, Q-U-I-K Dumpsters.com. That's QuickDumpsters.com. Corey's yet another maggot launching his own locally owned and operated business, and boy, did I need him, and really we all do. Things pile up, you get frustrated, you keep saying, we need to make a dump run. Pretty soon it's more than a dump run, and now you need to rent a truck or have one of those ugly upside-down box cars parked in front of your house that you fill up yourself. Or, you do like I did, you call Corey at QuickDumpsters.com. In my case, my house had fallen into complete disarray as my late wife Christina had lost her 2-year battle with congestive heart failure, and amongst the many things left were gathering her things and finding what to donate, what had to just go in that pile of stuff where we were both going, why did we ever buy this? And it all could have been so overwhelming had Corey not just walked in, taken charge, and removed dozens of boxes of total junk, unusable dog kennels, desks that were falling apart, a worthless old smoker that couldn't be fixed, bag after bag of crap, and I can't remember what else. He was quick, spelled wrong, Q-U-I-K, quiet and clean. Well, he wasn't clean. I mean, he was. But I'm not commenting on his hygiene. I meant that his work was clean. He swept everything when he was done, and the house looked like he'd never even been there. Corey's the real deal, and I couldn't be more proud and happy to call him a brand new advertiser. His story is incredible, his dedication unmatched, and his motivation to succeed larger than he is, and that's saying something. Quotes are free. You don't even have to have them over to your house. Just send him some pics or videos, and you'll get your price, schedule your day and time, and watch someone else get that junk out of your house. Go to QuickDumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, Dumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, Dumpsters.com.
Just two friends talking sports and only sports. Unless Rob goes off on one of his tangents. Email the show, ras@theradnetwork.com.
Sorry, just watching the replay here on the A's game. Let's see, was he safe? Are they gonna challenge it? Pickoff throw to first. Ooh, that's close. They called him safe. Not important. Looks like they're not going to challenge it. Okay, so we started the game. We started the show with some breaking news like we always try to do. And an update that, yes, the NFL's, it looks like they're going to go with YouTube for this 5-game package. We don't know which 5 games. We know that they could pick like the Australia game and the Thanksgiving Eve game, but we don't know yet. And we don't know if it'll be free. like free YouTube or how they're going to do that will be part of their big package. So, okay, back to the NFL and some other things we've been following and one we haven't, but maybe we need to. We'll start with the one we have been following. The NFL informed teams yesterday the officiating staff has started onboarding potential replacement officials. Training sessions continue to be planned for next month. This is the ongoing, very aggressive push by the NFL to show the NFL Referee Association, whatever, we're moving forward with or without you. Get on board. Take your $350,000 a year with your 6.5% increase every year. Oh, and by the way, some technical stuff that we're throwing in that isn't getting enough attention that we're going to want you to do with New York, and just sign. Or we're going to bring in all these college guys, and they'll do whatever we want them to, and maybe they'll be the new refs. I mean, they're really flexing. Several officials have completed background checks and will undergo physical exams. This is a week after the NFL and the Referees Association engaged in a bargaining session that featured owners including Jerry Jones. That was the big story. Jerry was there. The NFL said it remains committed to reaching a fair and reasonable agreement with the NFL referees, but will be fully prepared should the current agreement expire. And there's that question. The actual contract expires May 31st. The NFL has said May 1st is their deadline, but is the real deadline September 1st in terms of if they can get all the way down there and get a deal done. But this is the latest, is the NFL is just, they're pressing, and trying to make the refs squirm.
I love it. I hope the refs do squirm. I'd like to see them come back. I just want whatever ends up out of this to use more technology at all levels and hold the refs accountable for how they do through the course of the season, and don't just start rewarding postseason based on seniority like they have for so many years.
And it's this accountability thing that, again, it feels like ego along with the addition of technology. And we're already seeing in baseball, a lot of the umps are starting to publicly relax over the ABS. They're starting to kind of go, okay, I'm going with the flow. Don't get mad at me. You get mad either at the robot or you get mad at the catcher or the batter for not tapping his head. I'm doing the best I can. And I saw one ump, and I don't remember who it was. It wasn't a name that stuck with me like Buckner would or some of the other ones. But he had said he thinks it's made him a better umpire. Okay, what more could you ask for?
That's the goal. That is a great comment. I love to hear that. It should make them a better umpire. And as you said, I think it takes the pressure off of them somewhat because, one, you want to be better at what you do, and two, blame the batter, blame the others. You can't, no manager is going to come out and argue with you anymore because, look, that's not up to me. That's up to everyone else. And the other thing that I'd heard is the chatter from the dugouts on, oh, that pitch was outside, is non-existent, doesn't exist anymore. They never have to hear the heckling from one of the two teams or both teams or whatever it is.
Because any good ump's going to, if anybody did open up their yap, any good ump's going to look at him and go, then tap the head. Got nothing. Or, hey, sorry, you're out of challenges. You guys should have strategized better. So, yeah, it's a better working environment. And you've got to believe in a normal world that some of the NFL refs, have called some of these umpires and said, hey, how's this whole technology thing working out for you guys? Because the NFL is really putting the pressure on us. So we'll see. Again, ultimately, I do think you and I on this one are absolutely in lockstep with the overwhelming majority of the fans and certainly those who bet on the games. Just get it right. However you got to do it, get it right. That's the big thing.
Without holding it up for too long. That's the asterisk with it.
There we go. I'm sorry, Steve. What did you say? I know everybody else heard you.
Without holding it up for too long.
Which that is a side story. I apologize. A little technical difficulty. Steve had to repeat himself for you 3 times because I didn't hear it. There is some, not by a lot, but they are starting to write that baseball games have gotten a little longer this year, and they're blaming it on the ABS. But I need a lot more data because ABS is still like this. I think it's the pitching changes or something else. So that's why I didn't bring it to the show yet. I want to see a couple months of data before, and it wasn't a lot in terms of the length of the games. So we'll see. Okay, I mentioned a story that I hadn't mentioned, and the only reason was I was like, whatever, it'll work out. Well, it's getting bigger and bigger. The New York Giants and star defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence have apparently reached an impasse on talks over a new contract extension. This has been out there. It's been a headline. And it just kind of felt like for a while there, I was like, okay, they'll get it done, especially because John Harbaugh is there now. Well, Lawrence's contract is out of guaranteed money. His $20 million salary places him 10th amongst interior defensive linemen this season, and he did request a trade. He has not been present for the start of the Giants' first offseason workout program under Harbaugh. The Giants have engaged with teams on a potential trade of Lawrence, which will continue. Although this all comes right after the GM, Joe Shine, said, oh, things are productive or whatever. Problem is that making a move would be difficult for the Giants given the state of their roster. They're already thin at the defensive tackle position. They only have 2 top 100 picks in this year's draft. And then just to make things a little more complicated, edge rusher Brian Burns told the New York Post, I don't want to play this season or any other season without Dexter Lawrence. So he's pulling a Dak Prescott, not to equate the two, but here comes the teammate coming in saying, I don't even want to play if Dexter's not going to be there. I'm surprised under a John Harbaugh regime this is happening, and it's happening so public like this, and that it's gotten to the point where they're saying impasse now.
Yeah, that is a surprise with John Harbaugh taking over. You would have thought the players would embrace it. Here we go. We have this experienced Super Bowl winning head coach. He's pretty much put his team in the playoffs year in and year out. He knows how to build the culture. And there are a couple players already ripping that culture down.
So it is draft week. A week from the day is the draft. And a couple things. We've been a little hesitant to dive into the draft, but we're at the week now. So a couple things. First of all, obviously the NFL wants everything to be a big deal. And one way to do that, you maximize the number of attendees. You know, they've turned this thing into a road show now. The draft is somewhere different every year. It used to be at Madison Square Garden or in New York every year. Now they're traveling the country to NFL cities. So there's some eye-popping figures that they're throwing out there. The NFL says that Pittsburgh, that's where the draft is, a week from the day, expects official attendance for the draft to land in the range of 500,000 to 800,000 people. Meanwhile, the city's 19,000 hotel rooms are currently at 60% occupancy for draft weekend. Do the math. That don't work. Next weekend of the draft. Now,
that doesn't even work in Vegas.
Now, the reports by local KDKA, local station there in Pittsburgh, is that daily attendance will be more like 100 to 200,000. And here's where this comes from. The NFL, they stack the 3 days together to give you this big total. But in other words, if the same person attends every day of the draft, that's 3, not 1. Totally bogus. And we do this in the industry all the time, all industries. We do this with concerts and everything else, like festivals. For each day of the draft, any person who exits the perimeter and re-enters, he gets counted again by the NFL. Last year in Green Bay, and this was the really ridiculous one where everybody went, oh, okay, so the NFL is pulling a Europe on us here. This is where the NFL, they have to keep telling us, it's working, it's working, it's working. And our eyeballs say, no, it's not, no, it's not. Last year in Green Bay, 205,000 attended the first day of the draft, Thursday. Friday, it went down to 175,000. Saturday, 220,000 people. Nobody cares about Saturday. And it was reported multiple times by local media and national media that was there in Green Bay that if you attended the draft or if you even watched the draft, we all know way more people go to Thursday and watch on Thursday. Saturday, when the final 4 rounds were going on and on and on, people were coming and going and coming and going, and the same person got counted over and over and over again. People saw it. I think it was ESPN maybe, but I don't remember who even did a thing where they had a time-lapse thing of one guy who left and came back like 6 times. Well, he got counted 6 times by the NFL. It's one person. So the NFL, they just have to make it seem like, look at us, everything we touch is gold. And I don't think this touring roadshow thing is a big deal to most people. And it sure seems like the real numbers show that.
So how is Las Vegas not the all-time record setter? No one's ever going to come close. You just kind of encircle the strip and say, this is my NFL draft territory. So I get to count every person that walks in and out of a casino, every person that walks up and down Las Vegas Boulevard. If I'm Pittsburgh, hey, look, let's include that Starbucks, that gas station, and that little strip mall and grocery store, because I can count those people as well. What you define there, to me, just threw the whole thing out. You can't consider any of it. I've never understood why the fans go and they stand and they're jam packed. It's kind of like going to Times Square, for New Year's. It's like, why would you even want to subject yourself to it? You're not in there, you're not seeing it. You probably don't even have a view of a TV, but you just want to be one of those people crammed between all of these other people having. I don't understand it.
That is a great analogy. Just a little bit off the sports front for a second. Um, I've been to Manhattan a number of times during the holidays, and I was there one year for New Year's, and people have always asked, "Oh, you in Times Square?" No, no. Now it's much more extreme than the draft, but I was there on New Year's Eve, and there was this dive bar that was right off of whatever that is, Avenue of Americas, wherever they do it, where they shut everything down, and it's New York, and you're on vacation and it's Christmas, so like this dive bar opens at 9 a.m. So let's have a drink, Bloody Mary time, and it's already packed with people right down at the end of the street, and everybody at the bar is talking about they're all locals because it's a dive bar. All those once you're there for Times Square, you can't leave. And you're stuck, and yet you don't hear anything, you don't see anything. Again, it's not a good comparison literally to the draft, but the idea of going to you couldn't pay me to go to the draft. How boring to sit there with the number 3 pick, the Arizona Cardinals. Oh my God, who would want? Oh, I don't get it, and it looks like most people don't, based on the real numbers. Now, if it's in Vegas, I'll go because it's Vegas, and I like Pittsburgh. I spring breaked there once. All right, the draft. It's a week from today. Johnny Carson used to say, if you buy the premise, you buy the bit. And I always tell people when I'm doing radio, hey, don't ruin the segment because you don't like the premise of it. So I'm going to try to not do that because I hate the premise. The premise is, this was NFL.com. Which teams are under the most pressure to ace their draft picks? The reason I don't buy the premise is we don't know how many okay, good, you're laughing already. Really? How do we know when they ace their draft picks? 5 years from now? This is right?
I would tell you there's 7 to 8 teams that are under a lot of pressure to ace their draft picks. We don't know who they are, but those are the 7 to 8 teams that will fire their head coach at the end of the season, because that's what happens every season.
So their list, they say that the team under the most pressure to ace their picks is the Jets. Why? Nobody expects the Jets to do anything. They've got the number 2 and the number 16 selections. They need an edge rusher, and they say the choice between David Bailey and Arvell Reese could be the difference. Okay. So, but I don't understand why they're under the most pressure. They're the Jets.
And Aaron Glenn's getting fired at the end of the year, so I will allow that part to, okay, but there's no expectations for the Jets. The Jets will be one of the 8 to 10 worst teams in the NFL. Their coach has been there more than 1 year now, so he's on the hot seat to lose it. But come on, there's every team needs to ace their draft, period.
So okay, so would you then would you give some credibility to there's the team they say is second on the hot seat to ace their picks is the Kansas City Chiefs. They say that no team in the top 10 will face more scrutiny. They need wide receivers. The team is a little bit in disarray. What, they go 6-11 last year? A little bit of credibility to that.
I would say that they do need to have a really good draft. They got 2 first-round picks sitting there. They've now faced adversity, something they have not seen a whole lot of in the last several years. And they do need to have a really successful draft if they plan on returning to that elite status, which is where I question is, will we ever see them there? If they ace the draft, yes, they will be back there. If they ace this one and they ace next year, I don't think this one alone will put them back in there, because there's still too many questions on Patrick Mahomes. Will he be available week 1? Will he be available on week 7? And I'm still talking about and cannot wait. That's the most important thing when I see the schedule reveal. I'm going to go see what the first 6 games of the Chiefs are.
Which we'll have in mid-May, and then and that's the one that in the top 5 I kind of go, okay, yeah, and we won't know. You're right, we won't know this year. We won't know a week from today did they ace their draft, but this might be what we look back on in 3 years of that was their chance to turn it around and they didn't, or that was their chance and look at what they got kind of thing. Because the other 3 teams are all down the road, on the come in their top 5. The Dolphins, the Raiders. Okay, they're building. Both of those teams, they're trying to build. Okay, they need to ace their draft, sure. And then they always the Cowboys. I get oversaturated with the Cowboys, so maybe that's where my bias comes in. So the Cowboys are the 5th most needed team to ace the draft.
And we won't know, as you said, for several years. I cannot back this up, but my opinion is the Seahawks, like 3 years ago, when Pete Carroll's gone, here we're moving in. Did they get they aced it right after draft day on that Monday following? We give them an A+ because they've nailed this draft. They're going to be going on and they're going to win a Super Bowl within 3 years. I'm willing to bet they did not. I'm sure their grade was probably a B or a B-, and they nailed the draft. They rebuilt the team. They won the Super Bowl this past year. So that's where this is nonsense. And I know we're talking about it, but it's like you aren't going to know for several years.
There's a reason I buried it at the end of the show, because it is nonsense. And I knew that I couldn't just accept the premise because it is so silly. We will be back tomorrow.
This has been a presentation of the Rob and Steve Sports Show, brought to you by the Rad Network and is copyrighted by the radnetwork.com and Williams Broadcasting for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of whatever Rob and Steve just talked about without the express permission of the Rad Network, Williams Broadcasting, and Rob's really mean lawyers is prohibited. So don't do it.